Welcome to Trudge the Road. Trudge the Road is brought to you by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron's a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment with treatment facilities in Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, and offices in Bermuda, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. They can be reached by calling 1-800-854-6023, or you can visit their website at caron.org. That's CARON.org. We're your hosts. I'm Rich, a recovered drug addict.
My name is Jerry, and I'm a sober alcoholic.
Jerry, let's start the show like we always do. Tell us why we do the show.
Trudge the Road is a radio program dedicated to people who suffer from the disease of addiction to alcohol and drugs. And every bit as important, family and friends. We know that you suffer tremendously. We know that you have a lot of questions. That's why we're here, try to answer some of those questions, and with the good grace of the Lord above, be able to provide a solution to this incredible dilemma, which is the disease of addiction.
We have a very, very exciting show coming up. Before we get to telling you some details here, I just want to remind you that you can go to our website to catch prior shows or what's going on with Trudge the Road.
Yes.
And also email contacts if you'd like to email Jerry, myself, or Matt, the producer
Matt,
over there.
the producer.
Yeah, it's trudgetheroadradio.com. Very simple, trudgetheroadradio.com. Jerry, John Hiatt is going to be joining us here in just a little bit. And John Hiatt is a musician who is, I think the word iconic comes up.
It is. I know he laughs at it, but he is an icon. I mean, that's a future Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member there. John Hiatt is going to be right here.
Yeah, he's written a lot of songs, been covered by Bonnie Raitt, B.B. King, Eric Clapton, just to name a few. And he's also in recovery and has been for a number of years. I believe it's somewhere right around 28 years.
Yeah, longer than me. Man, that's great.
That is a long time because you're old.
I know. And it isn't great. AA it's the only venue in the world where being called an old timer is a compliment. But today really you can't use the word old timer. You have to use long term sobriety or whatever. Because I've got, and I promise you this, friends in the recovering community who have 15 years of sobriety who are 30 years old. It's just not that uncommon anymore, and thank God for it, I might add.
Yeah, well, we're very excited about him joining the show, so this very first segment is going to be short because we want to have as much time with John Hiatt as possible. Now, we do have a Facebook page. Want to remind everybody of that. That's Trudge the Road Radio. Just put that in the search engine. And also, we have a Twitter account at TTR Show. Do you have something you want to talk about? You're kind of holding that piece of paper there.
It's just, I've been listening to John Hiatt's new CD, which, by the way, is called Mystic Pinball. And I just jotted down some lyrics off of one of the songs that to me, I'm sure that they mean something completely different to him or to anybody else, how you translate, how you feel. But I really think that these just few lyrics just so sum up the first step of recovery in the 12 steps. Here we are, from John Hiatt's CD, Mystic Pinball. We're all right now. Gotta love so strong. Baby, we're all right now, even when it's all wrong. So won't you stay with me tonight? We'll cry some tears and sing some songs. Honey, it's all right now. All those battle days are gone.
Beautiful.
It is. And I think that just is, kind of touches the surface of how deep this guy really is. And I'm so incredibly excited to meet him and to be able to talk about what we share in common, and that is a recovery from the disease of addiction.
All right. Well, I'll get out of the way so that John can come in the room and sit down behind this microphone. This is Trudge the Road. It is brought to you by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment, and Caron specializes in men's and women's services as well as young adult males and females, plus a relapse program and relapse services. If you're concerned about yourself or a loved one, call 1-800-854-6023, or you can go to their website. That's caron.org. That's CARON.org. I'm Rich, and for Jerry, we are coming back with John Hiatt on Trudge the Road on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
You're listening to Trudge the Road. Coming up, Jerry sits down and talks to musical legend John Hiatt. That's next on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
There is a new phase of recovery, and you see it in the pages of Renew Magazine and at RenewEveryday.com. Renew and RenewEveryday.com are changing the face of recovery for good. Each issue is filled with positive role models, life-affirming stories, encouragement, and ideas to help any life in recovery. Whether you're already enjoying an addiction-free life, have a loved one facing his challenges, or are considering recovery, Renew and RenewEveryday.com can support and inspire inspire you. Join us. Check out reneweveryday.com to learn more.
Hi, this is Rich, your co-host for the Trudge the Road radio program, and there's a question I get all the time, and that is, how do we catch prior episodes of Trudge the Road if we miss the radio show? And it's very simple. You just go to youtube.com and in the search engine, type in, without any spaces, Trudge the Road Radio, and all our shows will come up. We also invite you to like our Facebook page, which can be found by typing Trudge the Road Radio with spaces into the search engine. And thank you from Jerry and myself for listening to Trudge the Road.
Welcome, everyone, to Trudge the Road. Trudge the Road is brought to you by the Cairn Treatment Centers. Cairn is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment, with treatment facilities in Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, offices in Bermuda, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. They can be reached by calling 800-854-6023 or visit their website, which is caron.org. That's caron.org. And they have some very, very pertinent information here for you. Trudge the Road is a radio program dedicated to people who suffer from the disease of addiction to alcohol and drugs, and every bit as important, family members. You suffer tremendously. We know you have a lot of questions. That's what this show is all about, to hopefully provide some answers, and with the good grace of the Lord above, a solution to this incredible dilemma. Thank you very much for listening. If you're listening on a local radio station, thank you. And if you could, maybe in your AA meetings, for those of you who are in recovery, when they get to those non-related AA announcements, maybe bring up the fact that you found Trudge the Road. Or if you're listening on YouTube, thank you very much. Just pass the word along. We would appreciate that. You can find us at YouTube on the search engine. Just type in Trudge the Road Radio. Trudge the Road Radio as one word, and all the episodes will pop up. And we've had some great guests, and today is certainly no exception. I'm a bit starstruck, I'll have to be honest with you. You know, I've been a fan of yours for I don't know how many years.
Oh, shucks.
Ladies and gentlemen, future Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member John Hiatt is here.
No.
It's true.
Ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen.
I think it will. I absolutely think it will. Man, thank you very, very much for being here. I really do appreciate
my
that.
pleasure.
To have someone of your stature is a real honor, and you know
I'm about 6 feet. I was 6 feet. I'm about 5'11".
Starting to kind of come down a little bit.
When I hit 60, I started shrinking. Not my ego, mind you, but
well, of course.
My height.
Your career, you know, that's what I want to talk about. Obviously, you know, I want to talk about all the music and the albums and the lyrics and things of that nature. But actually, you know, this is about recovery, and you have a beautiful story. You're no stranger to sobriety. You've been sober for how many years?
28.
28 years.
28 years.
That's an incredible amount. You know.
Well, it's a miracle is what it is.
How did it happen? You obviously got sober as a pretty young man.
I was 32.
Same age I was when I got sober.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Can you just give us a little bit of what? I mean, you know, we know you as this rock star, and you know, we know that the lifestyle and things of that nature. I mean, those things play in our head. You know how we are as fans. You know, tell us what it was like.
I started drinking really young. I was about 11. I come from a family of 7 kids. I was next to last, and we were, you know, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on in the family. A lot of different kinds of sickness, I guess you'd call it, some kind of crazy stuff. We had to, a lot of us had, there was a weight problem with a lot of us, a lot of overeating, and a lot of stuffing, chicken and stuffing, turkey and dressing, you know, it was a lot.
And you grew up in the heartland, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah,
Indianapolis?
Yeah, Indiana.
Yeah.
And so, and back then, you know, when I was growing up as a kid, it was kind of odd to be fat. Mm-hmm. You know, these days it's
the norm.
It's almost the norm.
Yeah, right.
But back then, if you were heavy, if you were overweight,
paid a price.
People noticed. Yeah, you paid a price. So I was really overweight as a kid. I think by the time I was 12, I weighed almost 300 pounds.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And you know, of course, I was really uncomfortable, and I got people made fun of me. I had in school. I had to play, you know, the funny man to
counteract that.
Counteract all that. So thank you. So I was just generally pretty miserable at a pretty young age.
I can imagine.
So when I found alcohol, it was like a miracle. I was like, oh my God, this stuff's amazing. I remember my first drink was me and some buddies we were in 5th grade, and we got invited to an 8th grade party, or we knew where it was, or I don't know what, but we were going to an 8th graders party. And we were walking down the alley, and one of the guys had gotten somebody to buy us half pints of Dark Eyes cherry vodka. And
Sounds great.
we each had a half pint, and he said, "Just chug it. It's terrible. It tastes terrible. Just chug it. It's the only way you can deal with it." So we chugged it, and I just remember the feeling that I had was, all of a sudden I was transformed. I wasn't a fat kid. I was handsome. I was smart. I was, witty and wise, and just everything I always.
You found the solution to life.
Yeah, the guy I always wanted to be. And I remember looking at them, and it was the weirdest feeling. I had the sense that they were merely drunk, but I had been transformed. I knew the difference. I felt the difference right away.
I can recall it myself, and I think that, the separation of folks who are alcoholics and not alcoholics, one of the most vivid memories, if not the most vivid memory I have in my life, is that first-time experience.
Yeah.
It solved the problem I didn't know I had. And I was the same way. As the little friends around me got drunk and, kind of goofy, I got okay. I mean, for the first time, I was absolutely all right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's right. And, of course, we could, generally speaking, usually drink more than our buddies, with the exception of the heavy drinkers,
right?
Which is all we were trying to be.
Right.
That's what I aspired to, a successful heavy drinker.
Somebody write that down.
So I was off and running, and when I found liquor later on, it became, of course, a wonderful diet aid. You drink and you don't eat anything.
Right.
So that was great. I found cigarettes and booze, and by the time I was 15, I'd knocked off 100 pounds or so, and I started feeling better. But of course, I never felt normal. I mean, what's normal?
Right.
So I'd been playing music. I picked up a guitar when I was 12, and so I had put little bands together. I was very fortunate. I was in my school. There were 2 other kids that were really talented kids, wrote songs themselves, and had picked up the guitar around the same time I did. So we put little bands together and played like this Catholic youth organization,
CYO,
sock hops and that sort of thing. And went to high school for 1 year at a Catholic high school. And I failed the 2 semesters of religion, and which you had to take.
Sure.
And they said, well, you can come back. You'll be a sophomore if you go to summer school and take the religion classes, and I didn't want to do that. So I left the Catholic school and went to a public high school for my sophomore year, but basically didn't go. Just spent my time with, the kids that were, drinking and sniffing glue was a big thing in those days. We tried to stay away from the glue sniffers because they were pretty nuts already.
Right.
That was not a good
not a
good thing.
That's serious damage there.
Serious damage. Quick.
Very quick.
Yeah. So, I basically didn't go to school until I turned 16, and then I could officially not go to school. So I was pretty much done with school, and my father had died when I was 13, and 2 years before that, my brother had committed suicide. So I didn't have any. By the time I was 13, it was like
there was no foundation.
I'm running my own show,
right.
And this 13-year-old kid, you get the picture.
Absolutely.
It's not a recipe for success.
No. No experience in life, and you're running the show.
Yeah, I'm running the show. I know what to do. So that was kind of, that got the ball rolling. By the time I was 18, I moved to Nashville, Tennessee. And I'd been there the year previous and met a guy named Bob Frank, who was a singer-songwriter from Memphis. And he had a deal with a publishing company. And he said, they pay me $25 a week, like an advance against future earnings. And I said, man, that's unbelievable, And so the next year, I came down to Nashville. Actually, I worked. This was my last regular job from the time I was 17 to 18. I worked in an insurance company as a stock boy, getting all the paper stuff together and sending it out to the guys in the field selling insurance. So I did that for a year, saved up enough money to go to Nashville, bought a Corvair for $35 from a friend of mine. We drove it down to Nashville. He came down with me. We spent our first night in Centennial Park, which is right in the middle of the city,
right,
underneath a picnic table. Slept underneath a picnic table. This was 1971. So that was my auspicious debut in Nashville, and I went
under a picnic table in Centennial Park.
Yeah, and happy as thrilled to be there. Completely different environment. My buddy met a girl and wound up staying at her house, and I just was going around in the Corvair, different publishing companies, trying to get
some work,
trying to get arrested, basically. And I wound up at Tree Publishing Company, which is where this guy was, and I played. They all wanted to hear a tape, and I had made a tape, but it wasn't very good, and so I'd struck out at 5 or 6 other publishing companies. So at this last one, which was Tree, I saved that till last. The guy said, "You got a tape?" And I said, "No, I don't have a tape. I got to play for you." So he said, "Well, we don't usually do that."
That's
play for
very unorthodox.
I played a few songs, and he said, "Well, what do you want?" And I said, $25 a week. And, so he said, "Okay, that's the deal." So I had arrived. I was a professional, and also the drinking age in Nashville was 18, and I was 18.
Perfect.
So we are
no more of those pesky fake IDs.
No, we're home. We are home, and so on $25, I drank as much as I could. I had to pay $11 a week for a room, and the eating was, we didn't worry too much about that. I bought bulk big, huge cans of beans, and we used to go down to farmers market and get. They used to cut the ends off those big tubes of bologna, and they'd cut them into chunks and sell 5 pounds for $1.
Wow, that was a bargain.
We ate bologna and beans all week, and I was writing songs. I was living in an old house, a room with a bare light bulb and the hot plate, the whole full 9 yards, with a couple other songwriters.
Right,
and. It was the life.
It sounds romantic.
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah. And so I just kept drinking and met some great people and got involved with some people that were kind of looking out for me. A good friend of mine, Travis Rivers, who kind of kept an eye on me and was helping me musically. I got a song recorded by Tracy Nelson, whom he managed at the time, and that was a big thrill, And
sure,
I felt like, well, maybe something's gonna get going here. So, it was drinking, and cocaine came into play in those early '70s, and of course, it arrived with the stipulation that it was not a stipulation. It was presented as being non-addictive. I don't know if you recall that.
Yeah, it was good for you.
Oh, my God. Was it ever?
Oh, yeah. Non-addictive, good for you. I love that stuff.
It's better than a bowl of Cheerios. So, man, I like that because, boy, did it make you feel good.
Oh, yeah.
And you talk about the $1 Million Man. Get some drinks in you and get that cocaine going, and man, get some more drinks in you, and get some more cocaine and get some more drinks in you because it just could keep you going, And so that started the ball of just trying to find level.
Right. Normal, whatever that may be. Is there any perception right now in your livelihood, in your sociology, that this is an issue, that this may be a problem, or do you still
Not
have
at all.
It's an asset basically to what you're doing?
Yeah, I didn't see it as a problem.
Right.
I didn't really realize till it really got bad that I was terrified from the time I was probably 7 on. I mean, I was terrified living in my house. There was all sorts of crazy stuff going on. I was a terrified kid.
That's what we believe, that this disease should be called the disease of fear, and that alcohol and drugs are my medicine.
Yeah,
So I understand that innate fear, that fear that those of you who are listening who are not addicted, if you can, possibly understand being scared and afraid and not being able to identify what it is that you are afraid of. It's just that constant fear and the projected fear something's going to happen, and then when things happen like losing a parent young, projecting things of that nature, the emotional consequences are just phenomenal when you suffer from this disease. And what you're explaining here is you were suffering from it way, 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 way before you ever took a drink of alcohol.
Yeah. So it would seem, whatever that, they say it's, mental, physical, spiritual, which, I don't think the concept of a spiritual life is all that complicated. Spirit just means life,
right?
In the old, I don't forget which language, but
Greek and Latin.
There you go.
Right.
And so it's to me, it's simply developing a life interconnected with humanity, for God's sake.
Exact connectedness.
Yes. And so which I was doing exactly the opposite. I was isolating and drinking myself into oblivion every night, and then every day, pretty much too. And I didn't have any kind of connected life to anybody or anything really, except liquor and drugs. And music.
And music.
Music was saving me, definitely saving me.
And that's what we want to find out more about as we continue your story, and we do again appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is John Hiatt, and this is Trudge the Road, which is brought to you by the Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment, specializing in men's and women's services, as well as young adult programs and relapse services. If you're concerned about yourself or a loved one, call 800-854-6023, or go to the website, which is caron.org. That's CARON.org. John Hiatt will be back. We'll chat more. Thank you very much for listening. This is Trudge the Road on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
You're listening to Trudge the Road. Coming up, Jerry continues his discussion with John Hiatt. That's next on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
There is a new phase of recovery, and you see it in the pages of Renew Magazine and at RenewEveryday.com. Renew and RenewEveryday.com are changing the face of recovery for good. Each issue is filled with positive role models, life-affirming stories, encouragement, and ideas to help any life in recovery. Whether you're already enjoying an addiction-free life, have a loved one facing his challenges, or are considering recovery, Renew and RenewEveryday.com can support and inspire you. Join us. Check out RenewEveryday.com to learn more.
Hi, this is Rich, your co-host for the Trudge the Road radio program, and there's a question I get all the time, and that is, how do we catch prior episodes of Trudge the Road if we miss the radio show? And it's very simple. You just go to youtube.com and in the search engine, type in, without any spaces, Trudge the Road Radio, and all our shows will come up. We also invite you to like our Facebook page, which can be found by typing Trudge the Road Radio with spaces into the search engine. And thank you from Jerry and myself for listening to Trudge the Road.
Welcome back to Trudge the Road on the Trudge the Road Radio Network, brought to you by the Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment with great treatment facilities in Pennsylvania, in Florida, Texas, offices in Bermuda, Boston, New York, Philly, and the nation's capital. You can reach them by calling 800-854-6023 or visit their website, which is caron.org. That's CARON.org. Trudge the Road is a radio program which is dedicated to people who suffer from the disease of addiction to alcohol and drugs. We know family members have tremendous amounts of pain and a lot of questions. That's what this show is all about, to hopefully answer some of those questions and, with the good grace of the Lord above, be able to provide a solution to this incredible dilemma, the disease of addiction. We are totally honored today to have with us musician John Hiatt. And John, thank you again, man, for giving us a little bit of your time.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
We kind of left off at this point. You're in Nashville. You're a young man. Drugs and alcohol really are the center point of your life, which is surrounded by music, obviously your music career.
Right.
And you did mention that it was music that kind of saved you. Can we pick up kind of where we left off and move on with your story?
Yeah, well, I kind of left out that when I found music, which was just not that pretty soon after I found the drugs and alcohol when I was 12, that was like, such a relief too. and that was a good thing. That was a positive thing that fed me.
Right.
And today I kind of look at it as, a gift from, some kind of higher power, higher than me.
Right.
That was, it was like, here, this will help you. You're in the grips, but this will help you, have some sort of motivation for living.
Or even a coping mechanism, I'm sure, at times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was a place to put my feelings. I could write songs and sort of get things out. So it was just wonderful. So I'm in Nashville. I'm loaded most of the time, playing gigs in town, writing songs. There were a lot of great songwriters in town around that time. And it was a real interesting time in Nashville. People like Guy Clark and Townes Van Sant were floating around, and later on Steve Earle. And,
right.
This guy Chris Gantry, who was a great songwriter and artist, and just a lot of great
genius talent.
Yeah, kind of an alternative to what was going on in the country scene at the time.
Right.
And these two guys opened this little club called the Exit Inn, and all of us played there. These singer-songwriters, and it was just fantastic. And of course, we played there and we drank there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we did when they closed the door, we'd go in the cooler and do cocaine until
it was gone.
Whatever. Actually, we'd do it until we'd catch last call at the bar across the street, which was about 3:00, I think, was last call. So we'd do drugs in the cooler and then go over and catch last call. So my life was drinking, drugging, playing music,
right,
and never feeling right.
Mm-hmm.
Loving the music part, but never feeling right. A girlfriend didn't even know what that was all about. Moved in with her, just trouble from the start, just screwed up. I didn't know how to have a relationship.
Well, it's impossible for us to have relationships. And one thing that, maybe folks should know, for an alcoholic, it is impossible for us to love or to be loved. And unfortunately, it's just part of the pathology of the disease. The best we try, it's just really not possible until we break through, as is going to happen in your story here soon.
Yeah. So, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And so this goes on. I lose my deal with Tree after 5 years, and without much success as a writer. So I meet a guy who says, I'll put you out on the road. So I move out to San Francisco, which is where he lived. I start touring around as a solo act and drinking. I'm out on the road, by myself, and I'd sleep on the floors of the guy who booked me, or if I was lucky and ran into some gal, I'd sleep at her place, whatever. And the drinking just out of control.
Right.
And this ran on. I got married for 1 month to a gal. I'm looking for mom, basically.
Right.
Somebody to take care of me, for God's sake.
I
know. So if just worse and worse, I go down to Los Angeles. I got a record deal for MCA, and there was a great music scene in L.A. at that time. This was about 77, 78. And a lot of bands, a lot of places to play. You go down to all these beach communities, and, man, that was the life, drinking and drugging and playing shows.
Right.
And still, just feeling like everything was wrong.
Right, that undertow of fear.
Yeah. And by that time, I was pulling into these bars where older drunks hang out. Mm-hmm. Where it didn't have anything to do with rock and roll, and sitting there and kind of just crying in my drinks. I mean, pretty pitiful for
it's a dark place.
29-year-old, 28, right. 29. And so it just got worse and worse. I got married to a gal, wonderful woman, and we lived up in Topanga Canyon, beautiful place. Was making enough money to do all those things. Marriage was, I was wrecking the marriage, of course. Couldn't stay, true to her.
Sure.
Couldn't, I was screwing around, just, doing all the things we do as alcoholics.
Right.
And was touring in Europe, met a girl over there. I'm coming to the end here. I met a girl over there, convinced that I loved her. Well, I'm still married, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife's pregnant.
Well, your hands are full.
My hands are full, and I'm trying to juggle that, a girlfriend, and my alcohol and drug addiction. So I decided the solution to that is to, I was making a new record. I went to Nashville to make it, and I decided the solution to my problems was to bring this girl over to America.
Good thinking, John.
Just put her right down in the middle of everything. Yeah, you know. So I brought her over, and by that point, I'm in Nashville making this record that I don't even remember making.
Whoa.
It was... I can't remember the name of the record, but I made it with a great producer, Norbert Putnam, lovely guy, and I don't remember recording it. Wow. I don't remember recording it.
And what you're referring to is you were working in a blackout.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
Warming up to the Ice Age. That was the
Yeah.
that was the name of the record.
Yeah, that's okay. All right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if I think I was the Ice Age at that point. I'm not sure, but. So I'm coming to the end. I'm buying 8 balls of cocaine and doing them all. Doing it all. That's like, what is that, 3+ grams?
Easily, yes. Yeah.
I'm snorting that all in one night.
That's a lot of blow.
And drinking. And I'm laying in my bed, and my heart is just, you know those commercials for oil? It was some kind of oil where the motor jumps out of the car and goes running
away.
That's what it felt like. That's what my heart felt like.
Right.
And I thought I was going to die, and I think I wanted to.
Well, you were really.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I think I wanted to die, but I wanted to do the drugs. I wanted to die.
Yeah.
You know, I guess painlessly. I don't know. But so the end was I rented a black Camaro after we'd made the record. After I made the record, decided I needed a vacation. I'd worked hard on a record I don't remember, and. And I took this little Dutch girl, and we drove down to New Orleans, because you can drink in New Orleans.
From an alcoholic, I'm going to New Orleans.
I'm going to New Orleans.
Your buddy on the Big Muddy.
Yeah, and I'm gonna continue this. So we're driving down. It's a black Camaro, which I now refer to as the Deathmobile. We're driving down there. We're going through Mississippi. I got beer in a cooler. I'm drinking beers. I got blow in the middle console of this Camaro. I'm snorting while I'm driving. I think I did that, or I'd pull over and we'd snort some. And I'm drinking beer, snorting cocaine, and weeping the whole way down. And she's, of course, she's like, what the hell did I get myself into?
I'm sure, yeah.
This poor little thing. So that was kind of...
The bottom?
That was my bottom. And we got to New Orleans, and, you know, I continued for a couple of days. And then finally I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't get drunk. I couldn't get high.
And it couldn't get drunk.
And I couldn't get drunk, and I couldn't get clean. So it was just, it had stopped. Working, and I was miserable. So I remember,
an undescribable, undefinable kind of miserable.
It really is. Yeah, it really is, because you feel so destitute and desperate, and you can't figure out why or how it happened. You don't even relate it to alcohol and drugs, really.
You don't. It's always the circumstances around it, the marriage that went bad, the girl that I got.
How did this all go wrong? And how did I feel make it, you know, how did I, what have I done, you know? And I was just, it was misery.
And I think we get to that level where the alcohol won't change your perception anymore.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's a really dark place to be.
You know, the alcohol and drugs wouldn't take away the pain anymore.
That's awful.
Yeah.
That is awful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, what do you do? What did you do?
Well, you know, I remember visiting a psychiatrist out in L.A. About maybe 6 months before this happened. And he'd ask me the normal questions. How much do you drink? Because he could see I was an alcoholic. I said, 3-4 beers a week,
Yeah.
like we do.
Yeah, same one, yeah.
Yeah. And he says, I can't help you. You need to go to an alcohol and drug treatment center. And I scoffed.
Right.
I said, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know. And so I kind of paid him his $150 $25
It went on the way.
and stormed out of there. And when I'm at the end in my Camaro with this poor little girl about to come back to Nashville, it's like the moment of clarity. I remembered what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, I need to go to treatment. I need help. And I didn't say it to anybody in particular, myself.
Mm-hmm.
I just said, I got to do something. So I pulled over, and there was a telephone booth. It was a typical summer evening, hot and sticky, and crickets and bullfrogs.
Sure.
And I give my wife a call, and I say, I need help. I have to go. I need to go to treatment. So put the girl on a plane back to Holland, got on a plane myself, went back to Los Angeles, and spent the night before I went into treatment with my wife. And my last drink was some kind of bad white wine that comes out of a box.
Oh, God.
And I didn't get drunk because I wanted them to know that I really didn't have a problem. So I didn't want to go in there, with a hangover.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the end.
That was it.
That was my last drink. And that was August 6, 1984.
That's just an amazing. There wasn't nearly as today is somewhat avant-garde in a way to find recovery. Certainly wasn't back then. I was around.
Yeah.
And it was difficult. It was difficult.
It was. Yeah.
So what kind of typical 12-step type of treatment center?
Well, I wouldn't want to identify myself with any kind of particular program,
right.
but it was definitely a we-based program that
right.
You can't do this alone. You can't face this disease alone. You need help. You need to plug in to other people that have been through this disease and who can
understand that pain,
understand the pain,
right.
Understand the disease, and understand what you went through, but more importantly, how you can live with the disease and not have to drink and drug.
How did you get to the point of accepting it, of realize you walk basically into treatment, still kind of in that denial level? What was that moment of surrender, if you would, where, this is the problem and I've got to,
Yeah, I remember it well, actually. I had my little briefcase with me because I thought, nice looking briefcase.
Sure.
Professional.
Yeah.
And professional what? I didn't know. Professional drunk. Yeah. And I found a gram of cocaine in it about 5 days into the treatment. And of course I thought, oh, fantastic. And I'm thinking, man, where am I going to, I'll go in the bathroom, find a place, I'm going to snort this blow, it's going to be fantastic. And I find myself, it's like my body I wasn't controlling it. And I'm walking up to the nurse's station
yeah.
with this gram of cocaine.
Wow.
And I turned it in to the nurse's station. And I'm walking up and I'm going,
this is a spiritual experience.
I'm going, what are you doing, man? What's wrong with you? You could snort this blow. What, are you crazy? But I did. I turned it in. And
that was it.
And I think, I didn't really even see it at the time, but I think that was the beginning of being, a little bit teachable.
Wow. All right. We'll find out more about being teachable, about what it's like to have had all these many wonderful years of recovery. Our guest is musician John Hiatt. We're incredibly grateful that you're here. Our show, Trudge the Road, is brought to you by Cairn Treatment Centers. Cairn is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment. Cairn specializes in men's and women's services, as well as young adult males and females, plus a relapse program and relapse services. Now, if you are concerned about yourself or a loved one, here's their phone number. It's 800-854-6023, or you can go to their website, which is Cairn.org. That's CARON.org. And they've got a lot more information. Very helpful, very loving, wonderful people. Shout out to Reverend Jack and Father Bill. Appreciate that. We'll be back with John Hiatt and more on Trudge the Road. This is the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
You're listening to Trudge the Road. Coming up, Jerry and part 3 of his interview with John Hiatt. That's next on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
There is a new phase of recovery, and you see it in the pages of Renew Magazine and at RenewEveryday.com. Renew and RenewEveryday.com are changing the face of recovery for good. Each issue is filled with positive role models, life-affirming stories, encouragement, and ideas to help any life in recovery. Whether you're already enjoying an addiction-free life, have a loved one facing his challenges, or are considering recovery, Renew and RenewEveryday.com can support and inspire you. Join us. Check out RenewEveryday.com to learn more.
Hi, this is Rich, your co-host for the Trudge the Road radio program, and there's a question I get all the time, and that is, how do we catch prior episodes of Trudge the Road if we miss the radio show? And it's very simple. You just go to youtube.com and in the search engine, type in, without any spaces, Trudge the Road Radio, and all our shows will come up. We also invite you to like our Facebook page, which can be found by typing Trudge the Road Radio with spaces into the search engine. And thank you from Jerry and myself for listening to Trudge the Road.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Trudge the Road. Trudge the Road is a radio program brought to you by the Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment with wonderful treatment facilities in Pennsylvania, in Florida, and Texas. Also offices in Bermuda, Boston, New York, Philly, and Washington, D.C. You can reach them by calling 800-854-6023, or you can visit their website, which is caron.org. That's CARON.org, and we very much appreciate their sponsorship of our program. Trudge the Road is a radio program dedicated to people who suffer from the disease of addiction to alcohol and to drugs. And every bit as important, family members and friends who suffer tremendously from this disease also. We know you have a lot of questions. That's why we're here, hopefully, to provide some answers. And with the good grace of the Lord, a solution to this incredible dilemma. Listen, if you're in the recovering community and you're a regular listener of Trudge the Road, first, thank you so very much. And if you could possibly, at your meetings, when you get to those non-related AA announcements, bring up the fact that you've listened to this on your local radio station, or you found us on YouTube. And if that's where you're listening, or if you'd like to find out more, it's YouTube. In the search engine, put Trudge the Road Radio, and all the episodes will come up, and you'll be able to catch some of our fantastic guests. And what we have this morning is an incredibly fantastic guest. Musician John Hiatt is here with us. Thank you again for giving us some of your valuable time. I just appreciate it immensely.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks.
We're huge fans. We're a little bit starstruck. We got to admit.
Gosh, please.
Now, you found sobriety. You found it in treatment. You're free of the alcohol. You're free of the drugs. You're a 32-year-old young man. You're a musician. Life is about to change for you. And as we began this conversation, you had made some reference to finding that strength or that power greater than yourself, maybe
Right.
to assist you in this
Right.
Journey ahead.
Right, and it was, this treatment center was that was the turning point. You talked about various 12-step programs, and that was presented as a means of hooking up with people like myself, and that's what I was, that's what they recommended, and what we did every night at the place. They brought folks in from those various 12-step programs, and it's I did everything reluctantly. I didn't want to, I thought those people were crazy, and I was a cool musician, and I needed some other kind of personal
professional help.
Yeah, I needed some kind of other deal that was
because we're special, we're unique.
Yeah, custom made, tailor made for me, and I took suggestions mostly out of fear. Mm-hmm. Tried to follow these suggestions the best I could, because I believed these people had something that I wanted. They were sober, for God's sake, and they seemed to be pretty happy, and I couldn't figure that out, because they didn't drink or drug anymore, and I was like, how are you?
It's such a mystery.
How are you pulling that off? How the hell are you living and laughing, for God's sake, without drinking and drugging? Because I had no idea how to do that, because I'd been drinking and drugging since I was 11.
Right.
So I get out. I hook up with a group and start going. I'm separated from my wife, and I'm about 8 months sober. And my wife and my daughter is about 1 year old,
mm-hmm.
just about to turn 2. And my wife has had some pretty serious mental problems and exacerbated by postpartum depression. And she killed herself when I was about 8 months sober. And, that was, it was really, I felt terrible, of course.
Devastated, I'm sure.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I had, responsibility for this child, and I was not equipped, really. I didn't think.
Sure.
I didn't think. And, of course, I felt awful about my wife and responsible and, because I hadn't been a good husband. In fact, I'd been a terrible husband. And I loved her. She was a good person. I loved her as best I could.
Sure.
So I was 8 months sober. I went to see a shrink just to try and get some more help, because I was about to fall apart again. And I remember the grandparents, my wife's parents, came out, of course, to claim their daughter's body, and they wanted their granddaughter. They wanted my daughter to go live with them in Atlanta, and I said no. She's my daughter. She's going to live with me, and so I took responsibility for this child, which I kind of was like, hey, you're not going to be able to pull this off. And the first thing I thought was, I need to move out of Los Angeles. Can't do it out here. Too tough. And so I moved back to Nashville. And my old friend Norbert Putnam, who had made that record that I don't remember making, was so receptive. I called him. I said, I'm coming back. He said, I've got a place. We just moved out. It's for rent. Come back,
Sweet.
Come back. You can stay at our house while this place gets cleaned up or whatever. So all of a sudden I had a place to live, a connection in town. I hired a nanny to help with Lily, and it was a new life. I hooked up with a clubhouse that has all sorts of 12-step meetings. Pretty much started hanging out there, and about 6 months later, not planning at all on getting involved with any kind of relationship. In fact, trying to stay away from it because I was so sick.
Sure.
I didn't have anything to offer. There was a gal came into a meeting. Her name was Nancy, and it was her first meeting. And at that time, I was about a year and some change sober, and I just knew I was going to marry her. It was weird,
right?
But I knew that we were going to get married. So, and apparently she knew too. So,
wow,
even weirder. So, I started. We started going out, and our main going out was just to go to these various 12-step meetings and hang out. So, and 6 months later, just like perfect drunks, everything, we pushed everything too fast, too far.
Right.
6 months later, we were married, and she had an 8-year-old son, and she adopted my daughter, my 2-year-old daughter, Lily, and I gained a son, Rob, and basically, we spent the last 26 years building lives together. She's been sober 27 years, and I've been sober 28 years.
Whoa!
The two kids got a little baby sister 2 years after we got married, Georgia Ray, and the kids are now 35, 28, and 24. The two older kids have been clean and sober, one for a year and some change, and one for a year. And our youngest daughter is in treatment as we speak. So,
well, I think that brings up to the important fact to explain that this is a family disease.
It is indeed, and it's when one person's sick, the family's sick.
Right.
It's just the dynamic of the disease, and even recovering, we're still sick people, and we. Our lives have been mainly the focus has been just learning about how to live with the people you love.
Well, it had to have been very difficult to learn that lesson, leading such an incredibly public life.
Well, it's we've been taken care of by this grace, at every turn, because we didn't know what we were doing. We were it was just sort of meant, everything's just sort of it's just sort of worked out. We've taken all the wrong turns and learned from all our mistakes, every one I've ever made. Some of my biggest dumb choices turned out to be the best, chances to learn something.
Right.
It's been a great ride so far, and I'm 60 years old. I saw a doctor when I was 31. He said, "You're not going to make it till 40 if you keep this up." And at the time, I thought, "Well, that's about all I can handle. About 9 more years of this is about all I can take." So, I never dreamed I'd make 60, and here I am, and I love my wife. I love my family. I have friends whom I love and who love me. I'm loved and I'm lovable. So
that's recovery.
And I love people. I have people I love. That's really the name of the game, as it turns out. I just didn't know that.
Not, to I don't want to drop names, anything of that nature, but I know that you have been an influence on people within your genre, within the music industry. Maybe just as not as an icon to recovery.
Oh boy, that word! That word's a good one, isn't it?
It is. But as just there's something I can identify with. It's hard to describe, to define. I don't know. You kind of wear your soul a little bit on your sleeve. You're easy to talk to, and I think that you understand. And for us, for people who have this disease with so many questions, we don't even know the questions. We're trying to discover these answers from. I think that I can feel that. I know I can feel that when I associate with people who do have that connection, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. We speak the same lingo, and we know the struggle, and we're happy. We're thrilled to have be able to have people along for the ride. It's like, we could, because we couldn't do it alone.
No, absolutely not.
So it's really life becomes thrilling, really, through this recovery thing.
One of the things that you do to give back is the John Hiatt concert for Cumberland Heights, and that's been going on quite a little while. Would you tell everybody what that is?
We just had our 15th consecutive. We would do it yearly concert a couple of nights ago, right before I came up here. And I had Ricky Skaggs. It was a Ricky Skaggs family Christmas, but it's been great. We've had everybody from Leonard Skinner to Boss Skaggs, Emmylou Harris. It's just been great. And it benefits the youth program at Cumberland Heights. It allows kids that can't afford to go through the youth program. It allows the possibility that we can pay for some kids that couldn't otherwise afford it. So. It's just a great thing. And my manager is heavily involved. Walt Quinn is heavily involved, who works at Cumberland Heights, really does the work. I don't really do that much except show up. I've played a couple of them. I didn't mention Lyle Lovett's done one, just Roseanne Cash. A lot of people have given their time to it. And that's what it's all about. If we get people to play it, then, that's the story.
Right.
They're the story that they're willing to give. To this thing.
That's just incredible. You don't know how grateful we are, all of us, for you giving us some time. I want you to know we'll pray for your daughter, and we know that spiritual connection always works, and hope that someday in the future you'll be able to come back and chat some more. Maybe we can just talk about your music career sometime.
Yeah, sure. I'll come back and maybe play some songs.
Oh man, that would be just absolutely outrageous.
Have some fun.
Dude, you are the best, man. We are eternally grateful. Thank you so very, very much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is John Hiatt, who is our guest today, musician. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Trudge the Road is brought to you by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment. Caron specializes in men's and women's services, as well as young adult males and female programs, plus a relapse program and all kinds of relapse services. Listen, if you are concerned about yourself, or a loved one, here's our phone number, 800-854-6023, or you can go to their website, which is caron.org. That's CARON.org. Thank you very much again, John Hiatt. That wraps up Trudge the Road. Thank you so very much. For Rich, this is Jerry. Trudge the Road is a production of CTC Media.
You've been listening to Trudge the Road. If you'd like to catch prior episodes, you can visit our website, trudgetheroadradio.com, and keep listening for new episodes on this great radio station.
There is a new phase of recovery, and you see it in the pages of Renew Magazine and at RenewEveryday.com. Renew and RenewEveryday.com are changing the face of recovery for good. Each issue is filled with positive role models, life-affirming stories, encouragement, and ideas to help any life in recovery. Whether you're already enjoying an addiction-free life, have a loved one facing his challenges, or are considering recovery, Renew and RenewEveryday.com can support and inspire you. Join us. Check out RenewEveryday.com to learn more.
Hi, this is Rich, your co-host for the Trudge the Road radio program, and there's a question I get all the time, and that is, how do we catch prior episodes of Trudge the Road if we miss the radio show? And it's very simple. You just go to youtube.com and in the search engine, type in, without any spaces, Trudge the Road Radio, and all our shows will come up. We also invite you to like our Facebook page, which can be found by typing Trudge the Road Radio with spaces into the search engine. And thank you from Jerry and myself for listening to Trudge the Road.
Thank you for listening to Trudge the Road. The opinions expressed in the show are those of myself, Jerry, my co-host, Rich, and our guests, and not necessarily those of the Caron Treatment Centers. For more information regarding the show, go to our website, trudgetheroadradio.com.